Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special edition of the Dashcast because this week your co-host Brandon and I are doing the Green Bay Packers Tampa Bay Buccaneers for a
Let's
special
go.
edition, and we are pumped for this game at 4:25 on Sunday, October 18th. We both have a lot to say about these teams, as you can imagine, which is why we were not including it in our normal Week 6 picks, or our normal week pick'ems. We will very briefly mention our picks, of course, in that pick'em, but I think everybody can figure out who's going to pick what. That being said, we're at least in this podcast going to do our best to explain why we're going to say what we say. I'm going to use statistics. Brandon's going to refute statistics. I'm going to be right. He's going to be wrong. Go, Pack, go. But since Brandon is at home here, I'm going to go ahead and give him the floor here. Tell me why the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are actually going to beat my undefeated Green Bay Packers.
Well, in fairness, if I was home, I would have probably wanted to get the ball in the second half, but I'll still take the question. I think let's
My
say
podcast. Our podcast.
All right, so Tampa Bay's coming off a loss, a very unimpressive loss, I have to say, where Tom Brady technically played great on paper. I saw him miss a couple big throws. Good teams don't lose twice in a row, and so if they're my pick to win the Super Bowl, which I still think they will, they win this game right here. This is a must-win. It's a big game, and I think they can tidy up for a big game that they're going to get up for. So why do you think the Packers are going to win?
All right, so for me personally, and I know we have talked about this off air quite a bit, and for anybody that doesn't know, we do talk about this kind of stuff off air quite a bit. A couple of nights ago, we were talking about it, and I was explaining to you why I was not worried about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Green Bay has looked solid, and yes, our defense has given up a lot of points for the most part. However, finding a way to a Falcons offense that, has not won games, but has still put up 30 points plus per game, was very nice to hold into like 16 or something like that. Now, going into the bye, I told you I was a little bit worried, but that just meant we get Devontae Adams back, and we're going to be healthy. And a stat that you had mentioned right before we went live, Rodgers has not thrown a pick. He has 13 touchdowns, 0 INTs. Passer rating is he though? The guy throws 2 picks a fucking year?
I'm not saying he's going to throw a lot of interceptions. I'm not saying he's throwing 2. I'm just saying it's bound to happen at some point.
Could be. I mean, could be. I try to look at the strength of schedule as well. Your loss to the Saints is kind of strange now looking. Because at the beginning of the season, it looked like, all right, that's the powerhouse, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Since then, you handily beat the Panthers, who Panthers have been playing pretty well as of late, actually. We'll talk about that in our pick'ems later. But Panthers have been playing well as of late. Broncos, they beat them pretty handily. Chargers, now that was a pretty high offensively scoring game. Brady did his job, and we all know about the Thursday night debacle that happened last week. I don't know exactly how to feel about that team. Those losses are... Now that Saints loss looks silly. Earlier it didn't. But I have no idea what's going on in New Orleans.
I think New Orleans got up for that game, and they were firing on all... They were probably better off in the beginning of the year. Especially they were better off than the Bucs were. Brady has to go and turn, frankly, a bunch of losers into winners. And that's being... Look, they're still so last week during the game, he chewed out some offensive linemen or receivers or just kind of the team in general because they had double-digit penalties. Of what is he supposed to do? Plus, let's not be naive about this. He had outbursts in New England as well. Difference was in New England, it was a story for 2 days and then it was done. I'm still hearing about it today. How Brady's mean. Get out of here. You need to change that culture, basically. And so, they're going to figure out slowly but surely what players they got to get rid of, who they're going to bring in. And
I don't like that excuse because what do you mean players bring in and out? Like, hey, this, we're going into week 6 here.
Oh, yeah.
How much longer do you think you're going to be able to put this team together? Because, does Brady come back to the Bucs?
No, I'm saying over
like,
time. Yeah, next year. He's got a 2-year deal.
I mean, isn't it a team option or a player option?
I thought it was 2 years, but we could look into that.
Yeah, I'm not really. I guess that's not the point. Is I don't think you should be taking this time when this team can win now. A 3-2 record.
I'm not seeding. I'm not seeding. Yeah, exactly.
which is
But that's the
strange.
thing is,
But
I think this is a must win. So, and I think the Packers can very easily win this game. The Packers are firing on all cylinders. They're playing well together. LaFleur's coming into his own. Rodgers having a MVP like year so far. Now, I will say this: Rodgers has been known to get off to these kind of hot starts. It didn't happen last year, but he's done it in the past, and then he kind of fizzles out throughout the rest of the year. Brady, I feel like a lot of times comes at the end of the year a little bit stronger than he does in the beginning. So we have that dynamic kind of coming together too. I expect them to get hot around playoff time just because they got to mold together as a team, and you don't change the culture overnight.
so I have two things to say here. I'm about to change this name of the podcast to the Rogers Slander podcast about the fizzling out at the end of the year thing. I disagree with that. But the second thing, and the thing is about what I want to say about Tom Brady is a lot people will act as if he's playing very bad football. And I know it's an overreaction on a lot of people's end as we see the next game and so on and so forth. But a lot of the times you hear the overreactions more than you hear the actual facts. His completion percentage isn't all that great, but it's not all that bad. He still has 12 touchdowns. 4 INTs. It's a little high, but I'm saying
The
that
poor
because I'm
guy
used to
took a
Rodgers.
beating. He took a beating last game. That Bears defense was coming for him, and
I
they
mean, 8
were they
sacks,
were
yeah.
laying the wood. He was getting crushed out there. I was like, man, this guy at 40. I was actually impressed by. He was popping right back up. I was like, dang, okay.
I mean, and to your credit, he has attempted, and granted Green Bay was on a bye week, but Brady has attempted 60 more passes than Rodgers. So of course statistics are going to kind of lean in a different way there, and that's why it's a silly stat sometimes. Um, I think overall, the thing that scares me a little bit is my defense again has been known to give up a lot of points. Sure, we're facing probably the strongest receiving core we face this year. Would that be
Oh, stop
inaccurate?
it. Yeah, that would be very inaccurate. Chris Godwin, questionable. Scotty Miller, questionable. Those
Godwin's
two,
playing, right?
he's he's not 100%.
I mean,
He's
that's
been
fair.
he's
That's
just not.
okay.
He's just not. And they haven't had a bye week to get him in. And who knows that if Adams is going to be 100%. But anyways,
Well, they're
Scotty Miller
saying
is
Adams is
actually
back 100%. So,
and Scotty Miller is a huge playmaker. He is really good, and Tom Brady misses him. That's like his Wes Welker and Julian Edelman before he started dropping every pass, and that's a different topic. Yeah, they got a corner out safety, defensive tackle. That's one thing I try not to be too hard on them because of all of that. And Evans has been having nagging injury as well. He's played in all the games, but these last two
a
weeks,
TD in
so
every game.
he's not on the injury report as far as I can see, or he's not on the highlighted injury report.
No, so here's what I got to say about that, though. I think that it is probably the strongest receiving core that Green Bay has played so far. I don't think you can name a healthier one. Because Michael Thomas was out when Green Bay faced New Orleans, and Julio Jones went out in the second half when Green Bay faced Atlanta. And I think you're going to have both of those guys starting regardless, which is why I say that. And plus, I know Mike Evans has had nagging injuries, but
Minnesota and
12
San
point
Francisco, I feel like have good receivers.
but that we faced at this point to this game in this season. We faced Minnesota, who we beat 43-34, and we haven't faced anyone of importanence since.
Yeah, but San
Detroit,
Fran
New
has
Orleans, Atlanta.
good receivers.
But we haven't faced them this year.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
And I will kind of argue that they have better backs than they do receivers. But I guess that's neither here nor there in this conversation. Green Bay coming off a bye week, very healthy, having Devontae Adams back, Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams playing well, and of course we're using A.J. Dillon, I believe, very, very, very cleverly to take some pressure off of the soon-to-be free agent Jones, who I think we will end up letting go, unfortunately. The Tampa Bay run game is something that doesn't really get talked about. Of course, we talked about Brady quite a bit here. Yeah, I know I brought up Jones, and of course we talked about Brady. Let's talk about Fournette. I want to talk about Fournette for a minute. He's been limited in practice a little bit due to injuries and such. Is the outlook on Fournette like, oh crap, should we have got Le'Veon Bell, which we will talk about in a podcast later?
No, I don't think Le'Veon Bell's a great guy to have in the locker room either. I think, yeah, the last thing you need to do is make Brady's job any harder in terms of dealing with guys that are selfish, me first over team first type players. I actually like, I would, I guess it really just comes down to how healthy Scotty Miller and Chris Godwin really are. Because that changes the game for me big time. Fournette is like, he's an interchangeable piece. That's, if Jones will play good enough to do everything they really need from him in terms of running the football. This team doesn't need to really rely on the run that much. They just need to be able to not be too predictable. So he can definitely serve that purpose. Where Fournette is really nice is after you've had Jones, give the defense a hard time, and then all of a sudden you throw in Fournette when the team's tired of tackling. That's where Fournette really, really helps, because then all of a sudden he's going to take over a game, because that's just the type of runner he is. Fournette, I feel like he can start the game a little slow, and he can get discouraged, but if he gets off to a hot start, and then in the second half of the game he can bust off a big one.
Yeah. I have to say I'm a little more impressed with Green Bay's defense just in general. Again, the thing is we have performed when it does matter. Yeah, we gave up points at the very end of the time. We have performed. Our offense has been on fire. I do want to go ahead and point out a couple of statistics, and I don't know if it'll be interesting to you, but I think it'll be interesting to the audience. The point differential when it comes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we all talk about Brady or maybe their defense not being amazing or as good as we thought they were, anything like that. We talk about that, but the point differential kind of for the Bucs is favorable with plus 27 through week 6. You got to remember they played an extra game than Green Bay at this point. Green Bay's is plus 51.
Well, I would still say that they have a talented defense. I'm not going to say their defense isn't as good as we thought. What I'm going to say is they're so undisciplined as a team as a whole that everything underperforms. Like,
where did you think their defense was at the beginning of the season?
Top 10 defense.
They're definitely not as good as you thought they were. They're sitting at 15 right now, 15 or 16. Green Bay's number 2.
It's a long season.
I agree, but it's a little.
They're underperforming because of the penalties. It's just their offense underperforming too. I feel like
the offense
their
is keeping
offense
them on the field a lot.
I feel like the offense should be scoring more than 27 points a game. They should be in the 30s.
Offense, absolutely, you should be. You guys should.
So their lack of discipline is causing both an underperformance from the defense and the offense.
And we're not number 2 in defense. I'm sorry, we're number 2 in offense. I can't read apparently. You're number 2 in defense right now, by the way. You are number 2 in defense. So I haven't felt like they have performed like a number 2 defense.
Fair enough. I'm telling you, it's the penalties. It's hard to really overcome that. Like, mental errors kill momentum.
Yeah,
it's huge in sports.
100%. Closing argument here before we go ahead and get this over, get this verdict out here, and of course we highly anticipate this game coming up here.
Yes.
I'll do my closing argument, and then I'll let you go last here, since I made you.
Fair enough.
To do with it in the first half. So my closing argument here is Green Bay has been on, like we have said before, they are on fire on all cylinders. They've got the number 2 offense in the league. Our defense has performed better as of late. We are healthy coming back to bye. Devontae Adams is back. Aaron Rodgers, 13 TDs, 0 INTs, like I stated before, has played on fire. He's having fun. I do expect Green Bay to win this game. I do expect Green Bay to win by more than a touchdown. I think it'll be a 10-point game in Green Bay's favor. I don't know how high I will go. I don't want to predict the over-under. I don't know. I'm not. I think the over-under is 54.5. I'd probably take the over on that, just to be safe. I'd probably take the over, and that is a lot of points. But I know the game is at Tampa Bay. I've just got a lot of faith in the Green Bay Packers. What about you?
So I think that you made a lot of good points. However, Tampa Bay is going to be desperate right now. Tom Brady is going to talk to that team, and they know that this is a must-win. I also am going to point out that the Bears are better than we thought they were. The Bears are better than I gave them credit for at the beginning of the season.
No.
And
Fake is
when
4-1 team in the league.
when you have to play the Bears, I think you're going to be. I don't think you're scared necessarily, but they could be a team that surprises you. So I'm not going to pick that upset quite just yet. But I do think that Green Bay, they are firing on all cylinders, but at the same time, they could be due for some turnovers. They could be due to be a little complacent, coming off a bye,
A
getting
bye
everyone
week would
healthy.
do to it, yeah.
And I think that Tampa Bay is going to be desperate, and they're just going to outperform. I expect the GOAT to have a great performance, and I see Tampa Bay winning 34-31.
Heard that. All right, well, so of course, like I stated in the beginning of the cast, you all obviously knew who was picking who, and we hope you guys make the right decision in voting whomever you want to. All jokes aside, it is going to be a great game. Brandon and I are very excited for it. We thank you guys very much for liking, and please subscribe, comment, let us know who you're rooting for, who you think has this game. If Brady is the GOAT, if Brady's being too hard, if Rodgers is being too hard, or if I'm always way too biased. We thank you guys
Brady,
very
yeah.
much for listening. And go Pack, go. We'll see you on Sunday.